Just a little bit to the right.
On a single action army, and the trigger mechanism and the pins, the whole 9 yards, replicated it in CAD. And then I did a spectrum analysis on it, on what it takes to break it.
Hello, everybody. We are live. Checking in if everybody can hear us. We have 30 people already. Ethan's standing here beside me. So, but anyway, are you going to be on tonight?
I guess.
I sent you a picture of the link.
Okay.
You need something?
Oh, no. I just could see how the live chat was going.
Yeah, it just barely started and you walked in. All right, now that little interruption is done. Okay. He's going to go get on his own camera, guys. So this is the last live stream of our fiscal year here on 11 Bang Bang. And that's why you all don't get too tired of us. We'll give you a little break for a little while. Snapper might be doing some stuff in June. But anyway, we have special guests here. Well, I should obviously tell you who our co-host is. You all know Snapper over there. And then down here on the bottom, we have special guest Joe from J Wheeler 331. And we're going to be talking to him today. And he is a really up-and-coming firearms channel and covers just about everything. And we got quite a few people in here. Like I said, Ethan will be jumping in anytime. And we're going to kind of talk about things that we've accomplished in the last year, what we hope to accomplish next year. Thank you. And let's get over here and see who all we have. We have Oregon Outback. He said, I'm either really late for last week's show or a little early for this week's. Yeah, we threw one in there in the middle. Stephen M. Mann said, hey, it's the Mountain Man. Gunsmith 4570. Garza Vlogs is here.
Hey, Garza.
Diane Houston says, howdy, everyone. Christopher Mead said,
Diane.
Good evening. Stephen Young says, yo. Olivia Wood says, hi. The Lone Dragoon says, howdy, folks. Louisiana Gray, good evening, fellas. Set up over here with y'all and Snapper looking for another device for Duke. Duke is at a living historic reenactment today, and he was going to join us, but we kind of thought it would look silly if a fur trade era whiskey peddler was running around with a cell phone live streaming in 1830. So we decided he would let him off.
Wait, that didn't happen? I could have swore that happened.
A few more people in here. We got the Last Dragoon, AR American, Louisiana Gray, George Gooding. Time for some education. Well, I don't know how much education there'll be because Duke's not here, but there'll be some talking. Chris Klein is in. Byland and Sea is in here. Go check his channel out, guys. He's got a great channel over there.
Yeah, he does.
And that's pretty well it. We are running 35 right now, and let's get to our special guest. And since Snapper, you're kind of the one that got me in touch with Jay here, and you kind of got this ball rolling, why don't you start us off? Got any questions?
Yeah, my first question is, what got you into the black powder and the antique style firearms?
Well, I grew up with my dad watching Westerns and just around Westerns my whole life. And so that's kind of what got me into them. I've always kind of been a history buff, whether it be the Wild West or the Civil War or sometimes further back, but mainly those two eras, I guess between like 1860 and in like 1900 or whatever. And so that's kind of what got me into them. And I like modern guns too, but I seem to like get modern guns and then I end up trading them for cowboy era guns. So
Me too. Me too. I
Yeah,
like
I
them,
know.
but I love my old guns. I like new guns, but I don't love them. I love my old guns.
right, me too.
And I noticed you have quite a few originals in your collection. I believe you have is that a 1901 Winchester in 10 gauge, or is it a?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1901. I have an original 87, and I have
Nice.
some original, some Winchester 97s and a couple rifles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
So
I love
You got rid of that your Thunder, didn't you? Did you? I hear you said you got rid of your Thunder, right?
Yeah, I did sell my Thunder. Somebody wanted it, and I probably already regret it. But if it would have had a longer barrel and the
Ejector rod. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I like the longer with the ejector rod. It looks more like the single action Army.
right, and so that's what I hope to get, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I've seen you doing this, but you've done also along with those originals. Most of your originals, you have replicas of them too.
yeah,
So I got to ask, since we have a Century Arms P87, and I think you have one of those too. How does that obviously is not going to stand up anywhere near the original Winchester 1887? But what's your thoughts?
well, I don't have the that one. I have the Norinco,
Yeah.
which is a little bit, as far as I can tell, it's a little bit of a step up compared to the P87 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, mine has been worked over by a cowboy gunsmith named Lassiter, and it runs so much smoother than either one of the originals. It's not even close.
Really?
Yeah.
But that said, whenever I load my brass shells for my 1901 and my 87, I don't taper the ends like Winchester used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're racking it, sometimes you'll kind of catch as you're going in because the ends aren't tapered. I taper mine because the brass shells are so expensive. I want to get all the use I can out of them.
Yeah.
Guys, it would probably run just as fine.
Yeah. Guys over there in the chat, we're having this conversation with Jay Wheeler. A few more people have jumped in. Black Powder Firearms Enthusiast is here. David Squall, 351, and Earl Shannon are all in here. You guys got any questions for anybody here? Throw them up over there in the comment section, and I will read them. This is not a real formal evening. This is just kind of a friendly chat we're having here tonight.
Yeah. Yep, I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat room.
Well,
we got an amazing audience. I love our audience. You usually see them always in the videos. Are great. They interact with us a lot. They're great audience.
The first time I ever discovered you or your channel was you were obviously in the chat the night of when we did the Wild West Extravaganza chat, and you had mentioned that you and Josh were you talked to Josh some, and you had mentioned that your property is, I can't remember whose it was, but you own some property or on some property that was one of the famous people in the Old West.
Yeah, well, my grandma's mother, so my grandma purchased some land from Rube Burrow, which was a train robber in the 1890s, and so that's still in our family. My dad still lives there, and some of my other family, and so growing up, my grandma introduced me to kind of like the Wild West. I mean, everybody knows Billy the Kid and this, that, and the other, but to have an outlaw that lived on your land, who she took me to his grave, which was in town, and that it was like history I could touch, and so it was super cool. And obviously, we all heard the stories growing up of all his money wasn't found when he was killed. He was killed in a shootout. And so all his money wasn't accounted for. So could it be on the land? We never found any, but
long story short, that is not where this massive gun collection that's on YouTube came from.
No. But
okay. So there was a question for you from Serpent Hanso. He said, are there any recent updates on the Danson Brothers revolvers? Now, I don't have one, so I assume he's talking to you, Joe.
Yeah, I just got one the other day. I did a video on it. Well, actually, I did a few shorts on it because I I had forgot everything that day. I forgot my tripod and pretty much everything else I needed to shoot that day for some reason. But I shot with it. It shoots great. I'm having a hard time finding the correct size caps for it because it seems like I bought a batch of CCI caps and they're not making specs. They're out of spec. And so they fit some guns and they don't fit others. And they'll be, they take the same nipple size. And so I don't know what the deal is with them, but
Remington had it down. Remington had it
Remington
down
did.
before they disappeared.
yeah.
Are they too loose or are they too tight?
I can have the same caps will be too loose on one gun and too
Tight on another.
other gun.
And
Yeah.
it depends if you're going across brands too. Like Piet is like one thing. Sometimes, you birdies like originals seem like they always like the CCI 10s, the littler ones, especially original pocket guns for me anyway. But
Right.
That's
And
my experience too.
It's everything with slick shot nipples, but I was in a rush. I wanted to go shoot it. That's a gun I wanted for a long time and just never ordered one. And so I wanted to go shoot it and it shoots great. Other than being about 2.5 feet high at 15 feet.
yeah, that's just par for the course, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and if Duke was on here, he could tell you that's an issue that has gone back clear to the Civil War, where there was Ely's double waterproof and Ely's percussion, and Ely's double waterproof worked on Colts real good, and the regular percussion worked on Remingtons, and when they would mix them up, they wouldn't fit, and that caused Colts to cap jam. But not a lot, unless if you had the right caps. It wasn't as big an issue as a lot of people make it out to be. Hardy said, "Hello, you silly humans." David Squall said, "Bust out the metal detectors."
Right?
Lone Dragoon said, "History I can touch and feel. I feel the same way living close to Fort Blakely and Fort Morgan, along with several others." And Hardy said, "I have to brag a bit. I got to congratulations, Hardy. I know you've been one of those for a while. You beat me to it. I'm still looking." Yeah. And so that's about where we're at on the comment section. So, got to ask you, favorite handgun?
My favorite handgun is it's one of the open tops. I go back and forth between the 51 conversion and the 72 open top.
72 is hard to beat.
The open top is it's like I've got a pair in 45, obviously not original, and they're so light and easy to maneuver. The 51s are a little bit heavy because they're in 38 and you've got a lot more heat in the barrel. So if I had to pick, I would probably lean towards the 72 open top. And I mean, it's just a fine gun.
Yeah. And my dad had one from way back when, and when I got married, he gave it to me for my wedding present. And of course I still have it, but yeah, one of my all-time favorites too, in 45. And everybody's always told me, you shoot those 45s, you're going to hurt it. And I'm like, I've shot what we call the plowboy loads, the 40 grain 45s. There's been thousands of those through that gun at this point. Never hurt it one little bit. They're stout.
Well, I've got mine are Goons Gunworks right now getting a complete workover. So,
yeah. Did you have issues?
I got them from a cowboy action shooter who have pretty much wore, and the wedges in them were causing it to, sometimes it was hard to cock back. So he's doing whatever he does over there to them and getting those back.
Yeah. Well, I've never had an issue, but I guess the wedge is replaceable easily. So, So
he said he's going to make them run like Rugers. So he's putting all the Ruger, like the plungers and all that stuff in them, everything that's inside a Ruger. He said when I get them back, I'll be able to run the dog out of them and shit.
They don't fan like other guns, though. I'll tell you that much. You try doing that barehanded only once on the 72 up top. They got a claw that comes up there.
Yeah, they do.
We'll remove the center of your hand.
And you're right. And I don't have real hard hands because I do office work mostly. So
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that. You
Yeah,
seem kind of like a outdoorsy Southern boy that you work that
Oh.
outside for a living.
I am, but just it's for my actual job. It's in real estate, so it's
Yeah.
computer work.
Yeah,
No,
well,
they-
there's nothing wrong with
I would
that.
have never realized that. I would have pictured you somebody for like a truck driver or something like that.
Yeah,
Real
I'm
estate.
in a field that I've never felt like I belong in this field, but it's just when you're young and you kind of my stepdad was in the real estate appraisal business, so I kind of that's where I can make money. So
Yep. There's a lot of money in real estate
yeah, it can
if
be.
you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Right.
Snapper, do you need to sell a house?
Yes, I do. Actually, the one I'm sitting in.
There you go. You're hooked up.
Now, what states are y'all in? I'm in Louisiana, and I kind of know, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead,
on the.
Garrett.
I'm on the. You don't have to say Snapper, but I'm on the center of the Oklahoma-Kansas line, just
Okay.
right down. Like I can spit across the Oklahoma border.
Right.
Like
I don't.
the Medicine
I don't
Lodge-
mind
the
saying it.
Medicine Lodge Peachtree. He's like I can look over there on it. So I'm right in that area.
I hear you. A lot of history in that area.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, but I normally live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I got you. Cool. Yeah, I'd love to go out west, but I've only been to West Texas. I haven't been any further yet.
Yeah. You're down there in the
Well-
Gator country though, and that cool stuff.
Yeah, I live actually in a swamp, Honey Island.
There you go. Yeah. So
Nice.
how does that handle black powder fouling, or is it a you don't get it cleaned up in a day, you're rusting, or what? Because
Usually, when I shoot them, by the time I get home, I'm tired and I don't want to fool with them, so I usually clean them the next day, and I haven't had no problems. I mean, we have a lot of humidity down here. 90 in summertime, it's over 100 degrees and about 80 or 90% humidity, and it can really get to the guns if you don't take care of them. But I haven't had no problems.
you shooting real black powder most of the time.
Yes.
That's the difference.
I think that's why. I think if you were shooting Pyrodex, you would have problems. I've never had problems with real black powder, but Pyrodex, I have.
Yeah, I've got some Pyrodex. I've had the same can of Pyrodex for probably 15 years. If I can, I'll shoot a little bit if I get, I don't know, really, I can't tell you the last time I shot it, but I have shot it every now and then, but I don't like it.
Yep. And we'll shoot it if we happen to shoot an inline or something. We'll load it up with that just so we don't use the other stuff. But
Yeah.
and it depends on where you're at in the country. Like I've heard of guys from the Northeast that even with real black powder, 2 days they're rusted. And I know that people out in Oregon, they deal with rust. Like you said, you don't have any issues. I personally, I've tested it. I've let a gun set. It was a test. It was scientific. No, not really. But I've let one set for 4 months and haven't cleaned it, and it come back, and all it is a greasy white film on the inside. The longest I have ever seen was Duke left one uncleaned that he forgot about up there in Wyoming for a year. And we shot it. We came back then because we shot it one summer. We traveled up there quite a bit. We came back the next summer, and we shot full bore plowboy 40 grain loads through it. We came back up there the next summer and shot it again, and then cleaned it. Nothing but a greasy white film in it.
Where's the gun being left at? Is it inside or?
Well, yeah, inside. Yeah, it's inside, but he just forgot about it. Really, he didn't clean it, and it was a little stiff. But we still put another 50 rounds through it before he actually cleaned it.
Yeah,
I'm not for you people in the chat, and you all know me. I'm not advocating you do this. I'm just saying that you're going to get a lot more forgiving. Real black powder is a lot more forgiving than Pyrodex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Loaded for a few months before I shot it, but and it was inside and everything like that. But now I've got my father-in-law. He's rough on guns. He leaves them in the shooting house for a year. He'll leave them or in his dump truck or whatever else.
Mm-hmm. And how does he get along?
Well, I mean, he don't shoot black powder. He's so it's not that big a deal.
Well, you think about what those original guns went through that we still have today.
Right.
they didn't. Most of them, you look in the 1860s, they didn't live inside for most of their life. You know,
Nope.
or if they did, it was not much of an inside. It'd be kind of like what we consider a shed nowadays.
Yeah.
And if you're going through a desert area and you shoot it, are you really going to clean it? Because you have so much water until you get to the next place. Are you going to waste any water cleaning your gun versus water you could drink?
Nope.
I think they shot them till they got so sticky they couldn't shoot them anymore, and then they
Cleaned them. That's actually the same thing I think. I think that's exactly how they did it.
Except for Wild Bill, I hear he cleaned his gun, shot him, and cleaned them every morning.
Yeah, he was a special kind of person, him.
Yeah, he if he didn't, he might not make it to the night. So, you know, but I think your average person, you know, just especially with like, you know, we don't think about it a lot, but you see more like single shot rifles and muzzle loaders and stuff like that going down. You shoot them till you can't load them anymore, you know, and that's usually pretty quick. So,
yeah.
And they're left loaded forever. So many times have I bought a rifle, especially rifles or shotguns, and they're still loaded when you buy them. And people didn't have a clue it was loaded. And it was loaded from a long time ago.
That Merrill carbine, Snapper saw this, was stuck. The breech would not open above my head. And when we finally got it to crack a little bit, there was a linen cartridge in it. And we could not open it. So Snapper finally said, why don't you just be brave, put your cap on there and see what happens.
Shoot it out.
It worked.
That powder was probably 160 years old or whatever it is at this point to the Civil War. And it went pop. Soo!
Yeah.
You can see that bullet fly out of there. The Lone Dragoon said, I got a 72. I love it. Fixing to get a Duke Frazier holster for it. Next batch he does. Cool. You'll be right there in line.
Yeah, those 72s are beautiful guns.
Yeah, Duke makes some nice holsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy with them.
So do you. You make some pretty nice holsters too.
Yeah, I've seen that. You do a lot of good holster work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I picked it up. I started making holsters at the beginning of COVID. I was bored. And I said, let me start doing this. And it just took off. And I just kind of started make people want me to make them one, make me one. And then finally it's like, okay, I can actually do this.
Well, I'm going to zoom you in here because it looks like you got a leather sewing machine behind you.
Yeah, I actually do. I've got a Cobra Class 4. And yeah, I mean, I got a little, my home office is more like it's a reloading room, a leather shop, a gunsmithing. It's all like kind of bunched up. I need a shop is what I need.
Yeah, you need your gun room.
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah. I've got one, but it's being taken over by 2 tortoises at the moment. They're getting bigger and bigger. I have 2 of these African spur thigh tortoises. They're the 3rd largest tortoises in the world, and they're babies now. You know, they're like about 1.5 feet long, and someday they'll be like 400 or 500 pounds, massive.
Yeah,
elephant, turtle, tortoise things. But yeah, they're taking over my gun room. It's been fun.
Well, they'll be there long after you're gone.
Yep, they live long time.
Louisiana Gray said, Jay Wheeler, happy to see you in Louisiana. I'm going to mispronounce this, but it looks like he said, I'm in Ascension Parish. Parish?
Hey, you said it right.
Ascension Parish.
Ascension,
cool.
Yeah.
I'm in
St. Tammany Parish.
Yeah, cool. You guys are down there where you got those parishes. All we got is counties.
I'm from North Alabama, but I've lived in Louisiana probably most of my life now.
Oh, so you're from up in Plowboys country. Plowboys, I guess, out of Northwest Alabama.
Yep. I'm about an hour and a half from him, probably. I think me and him was talking one time, and I think he's about an hour and a half from where I'm from.
Mm-hmm. Well, he'll keep you lined out down there.
Oh, yeah.
You hear them cannons going off to the northeast of you.
Yeah.
Benjamin Jordan said he lived just north of you in Washington Parish.
Okay. Yeah.
You got all the Louisianans in here tonight.
School in Washington Parish, Mount Hermon. I know he knows where that's at.
By Land and Sea said, Snapper, I started working here in Phoenix 3 weeks ago. Hope you're enjoying the nice, cool weather.
It's actually not as bad as Vegas at the moment. It's every time I go outside, it's not that bad here. So I don't know if it's supposed to be hotter this time of year or if it's cooler this time of year, but it's not bad. At least it's not 125 degrees like in Vegas.
Yes, I know.
Stephen M. Mann said Pyrodex is corrosive evil. Tell us how you feel. Louisiana Gray said, seems like there's a few of us out here watching tonight. Yeah, Louisiana is well represented.
How close are you, real quick, how close are you to like the Texas border?
I'm probably 4 hours from there.
Okay, so you're more central, I'm guessing?
I'm just north of New Orleans, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the Mississippi Louisiana line.
As a kid, I used to live on the border between Texas and Louisiana for a couple months, and my single action army came from Beaumont, Texas, which is in that same area.
Okay, yeah, it's not far.
He's down there where in Red Dead Redemption the ghosts hang out.
Uh-huh.
So Hardy has a question for Snapper. Just got a Lyman ultrasonic. Any tips, tricks, anything special I have to do to clean guns or parts with it?
Make sure you leave the basket in there, because I always thought, hey, it might actually be a little bit better to do that, but it's the water. You don't want anything touching the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner. You want everything suspended a little bit off the bottom, and you'll get much better action out of the cleaning. And if you have small parts, put them in a small bag with the soap or whatever you're going to use, and zip tie that, and then fill your sonic cleaner up with water, and then just dip that bag inside of the ultrasonic cleaner. That works really well as a way to not waste a lot of cleaning product if you don't need to. And it keeps you from having to clean the whole thing, just a little bag. Put it in there, do its thing, and take it out, and then empty the bag. And if you're only doing small parts. But other than that, it's pretty simple and straightforward.
Jay, you use an ultrasonic?
I do not. I was looking at them the other day, and I was like, man, I need to get one of these because I get tired. I hate cleaning black powder revolvers.
It worked great, especially for like nipples and stuff. Man, yeah, you'll be amazed how clean you can get a gun comparatively. Because I would take my guns and stick them in there the first time and thinking that gun was really clean, and then the water's black. Right. Even though you thought the gun was clean,
it wasn't.
Yep. If you're gonna deal in originals, it's almost a must-have.
Yeah.
I like to put some boiling water in there. I don't know, a lot of people think that's bad, but just short of boiling maybe, and simple green. Yep. And you just take you one of those guns and get all the screws out you can, because you're degreasing it. You don't want to degrease those screws in the hole. That can be bad. But take all the screws out, throw that dude in there, and you'll be surprised what comes to the surface of even a gun that looks clean.
Yep.
Especially a 100-plus-year-old one. But anyway, we have Ethan in here. He showed up down there. He's been on the hunt for a new lawnmower, so he just now got here.
Yep.
Anything new, Ethan?
What do you mean? Got a lawnmower.
Yeah, the new lawnmower. Yeah.
Get a lawnmower.
Okay, Lone Dragoon said, I'm writing about the first Louisiana cavalry in the Civil War. Sorry, cavalry, quote Josh. And my historical fiction, Company H to be exact.
Nice.
Let's see. Okay, and Northwoods Cowboy 1876 at High Store. This guy's idea for shotgun belt. That was a neat thing he had on the. I think he's talking about your shotgun belt, Joe.
Oh, the one I redone?
Yeah, that's pretty sharp. You had a picture, the thumbnail for this video, actually. If I showed the whole picture, you were standing next to John Slaughter, I believe. Right. Was that John Slaughter, it looked like?
Yeah. Yep.
So how did that picture come about? Because that's like a carbon copy. It was very well done.
He has in that picture, he's holding a 1887 shotgun. And Mills style belt on, and I just it took me a long time to realize that's what it was. I thought it was leather loops and the metal one. So I started looking for one, and I found one that had the all the brass was all dented up and dinged and smashed and everything, and the leather was rotten. So I just redone everything, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah,
no, it's good.
Pretty good. Yeah, it looked just like him. You know, speaking of John Slaughter, when I was little, somebody had told me that he, of course, I kind of grew up on the Disney Texas John Slaughter show. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
Yeah.
but somebody had told me that somebody had drawn on him and he had been quick enough to stick his thumb between the hammer and the frame with a single action.
I have heard that before.
And I remember
I
as a
have
kid
too.
thinking, man, that would hurt. And then as an adult, I thought, but not near as bad if this is what it would hurt if he hadn't.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, especially a first generation with the fixed firing pin with the really pointy cone. Oh man, that would hurt. And then the springs on the first generation. Woo, that would hurt.
But like I said, the alternative's way worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Look, they were tough then, so he probably didn't bat an eye at that.
Well, yeah.
That reputation to uphold.
Of being alive.
Yep.
You, everything Black Powder's in. He said, howdy, boys. Yeah, yep. Jake always said he didn't want to do a video where he shot paper. And so I made a whole joke on this week's upcoming video about everything Black Powder not shooting paper. And what's he do today? He shoots paper. So
Shoots
now
paper.
my joke is null and void in the middle of my video. Way to go. And I'm not going to edit it out. Let's see. Lone Dragoon said, very cool. There's a memoir written by one of the guys from Company G. I have Hal Carter's memoir and Company IE used for historical reference. Very cool.
It's pretty neat.
Let's see, guys. I'm going to go through here and look for any questions. And if we don't have it, we'll just continue on with the conversation. Mill Creek Range said, Snapper, he can recommend you a good realtor if you need one. Oh, yeah, we got one right here. Lone Dragoon. Okay, guys, like I said, I'm just going to kind of peer through here. Louisiana Gray said, yeah, I think we're the only one that has parishes, be it in front of French originally.
Yes.
And we're about down there, guys. About there. Everybody's saying hi, Ethan. And Louisiana Gray said that's why he got his ultrasonic cleaner, so he could stop taking the nipples out. The ultrasonic cleaner, that is. I'd still take them out if I were you, or you may never get them out.
Yeah, I would still take them out every now and then too, because man, I'm telling you, when they're stuck, they're stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's for Snapper. Any worry about it? He's talking about the ultrasonic. Any worry about it affecting original finish on an original gun? I don't even know. How
this is so they work off cavitation. So theoretically, yes, it can hurt a finish, but if you don't leave it in all that long, I don't go crazy with leaving it in forever. But it doesn't hurt them, especially depending on how. Because like a real bluing is much more than just a surface finish. It's kind of more embedded in the metal, and it's not so easy to come off. So it doesn't hurt them. Plenty of people use modern guns doing it. I would just say that don't go super duper crazy with it. Like do it 5 or 6 cycles or something like that. I would just do it 1 or 2 cycles and then clean it from there by hand. What is left? You weren't going to have any problems with it. I've used it on all my guns, and yeah. I've never had any issues with it ever taking any finish off.
If you're really worried, don't put any chemicals at all in it and just use hot water.
Yeah, that's a great advice too.
Hot water is nature's solvent, and it'll get rid of about 90% of everything.
Yep.
Ethan, Louisiana Gray wants to know what kind of lawnmower you got.
A Yardman lawnmower, a cheap lawnmower. That'd be the best way to describe it. A cheap lawnmower that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to use that money for other things like guns.
Yeah. Louisiana Gray said, he talking about the John Slaughter thing, said, I'll take one little tiny hole in my thumb and a big one in my torso. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stephen M. Mann has some advice. He says, take the nipples out and add a touch of grease. Well, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Even if I have an ultrasonic cleaner, every chance I get in the cap and ball revolver to get those out. I mean, I talked earlier about leaving a few guns. I won't leave the nipples in one because one time of messing up with that and it's over. You'll never
It's
get
no
them out.
fun. I use anti-seize, which
Mhm.
I mean, grease is the same. As long as you have something to protect the threads from galling over time and rusting together, fine.
Louisiana Gray said, will high heat bother an ultrasonic cleaner? No, because
Nope.
generally speaking, the ultrasonic heats it to high heat anyway, or at least fairly high.
Mine gets to like 160, 170 degrees. It'll burn you. Like mine's really hot. You don't want to stick your fingers in it with it
Yep.
on for a long period of time.
Todd B wants to know, where's Duke? Well, we thought about it, but like I said at the beginning of the show, he's doing a historical reenactment for the fur trade era. And we thought it would be funny if I believe it was Jean Baptiste, whiskey peddler of 1830, was running around with a cell phone doing a live stream. Probably wouldn't fit in too good. Oh, wait. There he is. Duke's here. He said, howdy,
Hey!
boy. On Laramie. Hey, he's got his phone. How's the whiskey peddling business, Duke? Hardy said, thanks for the
tent.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying he must have snuck inside his tent and wrote that.
Yeah, evidently nobody's looking. Hardy said, thanks for the advice. I'm testing it out on some pretty crusty cases. Can I clean them with spent primers in them? The instructions say not to, but you know how that can be. I do it with the primers in. I do all the cleaning. And you guys may differ, but I do all my cleaning with the primers in, even the tumbling, because if you don't, the primer pocket gets full of media. That's how I do it. Ethan does it differently.
I do it differently. I usually
I do the ultrasonic cleaning.
I'll punch the primers out first, and then I'll ream them. Get my primer reamer or primer hole reamer, and use that so they're all uniform.
What does he know?
Yeah.
That's that fancy kid stuff.
You reload, don't you, Joe? How do you do it?
I usually keep I take my brass straight out of the, like, whatever I have them in that day, and I dump them straight into the tumbler, tumble them with the primers in there. I'm not trying to add an extra step of reaming out the primers and all that stuff. And
me too.
And a lot of times I'll just add a little bit of like Brasso, or I've even added bore cleaner, like bore solvent, and it shines them up pretty good. I
came across a just for fun. I tried this thing and it worked really well. I have this little rock tumbler. It's not the same one I use for making powder, but if you have a ball mill for making powder, this would work too.
Yeah.
But I put BBs, like a BB gun BBs. I had a little can of it, and I poured it all in there with the brass, and I threw a tiny little bit of Dawn soap in there and let it tumble. Man, those things came out looking brand new, like brand new brass.
Right. Yeah.
I never get my brass that clean when I ever tumble it and stuff, unless I really tumble it for a very, very long time. But the little round BBs, man, holy cow, it made it look like the brass was just brand spanking new.
I'll tell you what not to use. Somebody on the internet once told me, I Googled it when I was first getting into reloading, and somebody was like, when you use your tumbler for cleaning brass, I'll use a Lyman. They're like, when you use that and you don't have any media and you don't have access to anybody who sells media and you want to clean cases right now, use rice.
Right.
That's a horrible idea. Rice compacts really well into those cases, and it is hard to get out.
Yeah, by the way, guys, the whiskey business in the fur trade era is not good because Duke ate some bad buffalo.
Uh-oh.
That's not good. So, like, I cleaned a batch of 50/70 today, and the way I've been doing it is I'll take a little bit of Dawn dish soap, hot water in a jar, drop them all in a jar, shake them up, clean the water out, let them dry, get that black fat powder fouling mostly out, and then just go throw them in the tumbler with the primers in. Because, like I said, I hate fighting media in the primer pockets, and I haven't had any issue yet. So, Todd B said, Garrett, how do you clean your trap doors? Anything special? I clean guns different than a lot of people, or at least we do. I go out in the yard. I plug the end of the barrel off with a piece of cloth. I go out in the yard. I take a cup full of really hot water, and I dump it down in there, swish it around. Get you a cleaning rod, run it up and down in there a little bit, shake that stuff loose. Get you some wipes, wipe it dry, add a little bit of oil, wipe the oil out, give the whole thing a coat down, dry it off, give the whole thing some oil, and call it good. You know, you take the lock off and everything, you know, but I don't take the. You might take the door apart, take the firing pin out and everything, maybe once a year, make sure it's not rusting up. But just as far as just standard cleaning, you know, I pour hot water down the barrel. I make sure I got all the fouling out. I run dry cloth. I run a little bit of oil. I dry it out again, and then it's really simple. A lot of people go, I can clean a trap door in about 5 minutes. When some people take like 30, they do it differently, but I haven't had any trouble.
If you're not wanting to take the insides of like a Colt apart when you're cleaning it, you just want to do something quick and easy, use moose milk. So if you do get it inside the gun, it's an oil. When it dries, it'll just coat everything with oil. That water that's in there, when it evaporates, won't leave any kind of issues behind, because the oil will end up covering it up. So yeah, it's perfectly fine to do it that way.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, there've been a few things here, but I was going to say, you got any special cleaning techniques, Joe? Or say you're cleaning a single shot rifle, what's your go-to way of doing it?
Well, I like to use a what is it? An Otis? I can't remember the name. Is it Otis kit?
Yeah.
Use that. You know, if I'm shooting black powder, I use water. You know, kill it off with water, and then I just use brushes and my mops to clean it up, and then kind of give it a coat of oil.
Yep, it's way more simple than a lot of people make it out to be.
Yeah.
That little steamer I got for steam cleaning, it works pretty good, but I didn't notice it really saved me any time over a quick shoot. So I haven't decided if it's worth doing or not yet, personally.
Yep.
Nothing really beats just hot water and just filling the gun full of water and blowing it out and boiling it.
I know that was weird at first. You know, because my whole life I grew up, we wasn't shooting black powder, and then I got into black powder, and I'm like, oh, you mean dunk this thing in a thing of water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Whole life.
Matter of fact, when I made the video on how to clean with the water, I got a lot of people saying, you never put a gun in water. It's like, no, you do with these.
Yep.
Matter of fact, when I was specialist snapper in the Army, I got in a lot of trouble. I got in a lot of trouble once because we were at NTC in California, and so it's a desert training, and we got done, and you have to clean your gun before you get on the plane and leave and everything. And I heard about, and even it's in the manual, take the gun into the shower with you, because everybody's taking it apart and spending all day just with toothbrushes and Q-tips and stuff trying to get this thing clean. And mine was perfectly clean, but the second I told them I brought it into the shower, snapper was a lot stronger by the end of the day. I ended up having to do a lot of push-ups for that. And I was like, it ain't going to hurt the gun. It's aluminum. Yeah, but no. It worked great too, man. Oh my God. I had to clean this gun out of everybody there. But yeah, everybody was like, I can't believe you did that. It's like,
I did that.
Aluminum.
I did that in Bliss with the 249.
Yeah.
I ran a whole lot of ammo through that thing. We did a Califex, and basically they didn't pop targets. My squad leader wasn't very happy because they didn't pop targets. He said, dump every single round you have into that cactus over there. And I had I want to say 900 rounds. I dumped them all into that cactus, lit the cactus on fire, lit a lot of things on fire, got yelled at. And then I went and I took it back and I found this nice little hot water basin that you could just spray hot water, high pressure. It worked, but nobody knew how I cleaned that 249.
I gotta ask you that, because I've never even asked you this, never even thought about it. But you've been shooting black powder and stuff since you were 5 years old, and you knew you cleaned with water. How different? And we clean all our guns with water around here. How different was the cleaning regimen when you went into the Army? Was it completely a whole different deal?
Yeah. Mainly it was sitting there, trying to clean those M4s with the aluminum, especially. Everybody use baby wipes on the aluminum. Do not use baby wipes on the steel. And sit there with your
can of steel. Yep.
your Q-tip bent over in an L shape so you can reach around up in there in the in the star chamber, which it's really the locking lugs, but they call it the star chamber. Yeah,
They
it's
never
pretty
wanted
good.
us to take your hand guards off.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to take our hand guards off either, but they wanted it clean on the inside. So you're like using a coat hanger with a little piece of shirt stick. It's just so stupid. If you just use water, it'd be so much easier. But
Oh yeah. Well, I got in trouble when my first sergeant walked in basic training, and I was sitting in there with my 240 with literally everything in the feed tray cover pulled out of it.
Oh
Every
yeah, they would kill you for that.
He's like, "You'll never get that back together." I got it back together. It's like, it's not that bad, but I guess there's a lot of guys who have an issue with that.
It looks
Yep.
like everybody in the comments is helping Duke out with his personal problems. So yeah, that's pretty funny, guys.
He seems like he's in a bad way right now.
Gina Woods is out there, said, "Howdy, guys. I've been on the road to see Grandpa." That's good. My grandpa's not doing too well, and in
Sorry
the
to hear
hospital.
that.
So,
Enjoy
but,
them.
what's that?
But enjoy them while they are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is the
But,
one. He is the reason we got into history. He's not doing too well, and I went up there to talk to him, and he's sitting there. He's like, "I need to relax." Yeah, he can barely talk. He's like, "I need to relax." He's like, "You talk to me about the Napoleonic War, and I'll sit here and listen and go to sleep."
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
By land and seas down here, he said, "Snapper, I took my rifle in the shower with me every opportunity while deployed. Not only did I not lose sight of my rifle, but it got clean along with me."
See, that's what I thought too. I don't know what was our generation was wrong with them. But I was even like, hey, during Vietnam, like,
Yeah.
and it's even in the book. If you actually get the little booklet you get with the M4,
See him?
it says use a water buffalo to clean it. But oh
Does
man, I'm
say-
telling you, everybody was terrified.
It does
Terrified.
say it
sticking
in the
in the water.
TM. It says
I was even
it
like,
says
what about the
TM.
guys landing on Normandy? You know, even though they had the they had the M1 Garand, but it's like that's wood. That's worse. And it's like, what about Navy SEALs? Are they not underwater with these things with just a little barrel plug? Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt them at all. But no, they made it sound like if water touches that gun, it's completely junk. I mean, they were even like talking about when I got in trouble, the idea that I might have to pay for the firearm. I was like,
Yeah.
you really think a little bit of water is going to hurt this thing?
Well,
Come on, guys.
I'll tell you another thing that they should instill in you, but they don't. They kind of give you the wrong way of it. Is, they always say, you sleep with your rifle. You always have your rifle with me. Always in hand reach. Well,
Yeah.
I volunteered to be a 240 gunner because I like machine guns, and I volunteered to do that. And they're like, take good care of your 240, and it'll take good care of you. Okay. They're like, if it starts raining, it needs to be under the poncho liner before you are, or the poncho before you are. Okay.
Yep.
So I didn't have a poncho. I had a sleeping bag, and it was pouring rain down there in Georgia one night, and so I put it under the sleeping bag with me. That's when I realized that condensation in your breath will really rust a 240
Gun, yep.
quick.
Oh man.
Well, speaking of war and guns, Rube Burrow, the outlaw that we're from where he's from, the reason he got captured is because he had a Marlin 1888 that he loved, and he walked everywhere, and he was walking and it started to rain, so he knocked on the door to go inside to get his gun out of the rain and clean it. And as he was cleaning it, the two guys jumped on him and captured him. And so he was worried about keeping his gun dry, even in 1889. And then
I can see that if you were basing your life off that firearm. I could see that though. I could definitely see that.
I don't know if y'all have ever seen his death photo, but he's in his coffin with that rifle and a 1875 Remington and a Peacemaker.
Yeah,
I've never
if he
seen
hadn't
that
been
photo.
if
I
he
need to
hadn't
look it
been
up.
So worried about cleaning his guns, he could have still been alive for a little while.
Yeah. And then
For a little
when he
while.
broke out, instead of leaving, he went back for the gun, and that's when he got in the shootout and got shot and killed.
Yep.
Wow.
That's dedication, but I can see it. I got some guns.
I
don't
could.
know if I'd do my life
There's a
for
couple
them.
guns I'd probably go back for too. But yeah.
Since and my dream gun is an 1888 Marlin. They only made 4,000 of them. So
Kind of a rare bird. Oregon Outback
Yep.
said the first half of my growing up was bicycling riding distance from Wilson Creek Battlefield. As kids, spent a lot of time there. Guide told us the soldiers clean their rifles in the creek, and I believe it.
Yep.
I believe it too.
So, Joe, you got Civil War guns? You into any muzzle loading single shots or just
I don't.
pistols?
I don't have any. The only muzzle loader I have is a I can't even. It's like a modern replica made to look like one of the old ones. I can't remember which one now, but my uncle just gave it to me. I made a holster and belt for him, and he gave it to me, and he left it loaded for however long, and I finally got it unloaded, and I got a new nipple on it, but it's still not getting fire through the hole. So I don't know what I'm gonna have to do with it.
Yeah. You have to go watch
Nipple pick.
Gray Pilgrim. He's been fighting that quite a little bit himself, and he's got some pretty good videos on getting them cleaned out and stuff. And usually it's those 90-degree Hawkins style guns that are bad about it.
Yeah,
But
it's a replica of a Hawkins gun. I think it's
and
TC.
maybe who?
TC.
Yeah. Yeah, Thompson Center. Yeah, you probably have a Thompson Center Hawken. Yeah. They that's the one issue. They're about the best. They're not actually Hawkins. They're more they call them Hawkins, but they resemble a couple of other plains rifles. But that's the one issue they have is that drum comes nipple down and then a straight 90 degrees into the barrel and they plug off. And they should have a screw in the end of that drum you can clean out, but most people can't get the screw out because once it's rusted, it's shot.
It's in there.
Spent a whole lot of time with it. He gave it to me a couple months ago, and I haven't really spent a whole lot of time with it.
You can get a drum for it if you have to. If worst comes to worst, you can unscrew the whole drum and put a different one on there. Okay. But yeah, Thompson Center is one of my favorite Hawken, quote unquote Hawken replicas. They really great guns. I mean, my uncle had one for forever, and they just I don't know if there's one out there that shoots better than that. A couple of them, some people like me. Yeah, CVA mountain rifle's pretty good too, but those Thompson Center Hawkins are really, really nice guns. So if you're more into the revolvers, then what was your first cap and ball revolver?
1851 Colt. And
now I gotta ask, no shame, was it a brass frame gun?
It was. I
so
got
we're all of us.
Of them from Cabela's.
Yep.
And I trading those off and then getting steel frame once I kind of knew what was going on. I got the Confederate one because that's what I was into at that time, and
yes, sir.
And so that was my thing with it. But
isn't that strange how when we're new into this hobby, like my very first gun was an 1860, but it was brass frame, and it just kind of funny how every person I know they started with a brass frame.
Yeah,
like 99% of the people I know started with a brass frame.
We won't talk about what I started with in Cap and Ball world.
Well, now we have to.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. You have it, Snapper.
You do have it.
Because I had it first, and then after I basically blew it up and messed it up, I gave it to you.
That's when we found out we don't like Pyrex.
Gotcha.
By the way, guys, he's talking about an 1858 Remington.
Yeah.
It's a nice man. That thing is pretty right now, by the way.
Right? You do mean a new model army, right?
Say that again?
You do mean a new model army, right, Garrett?
I messed up.
Yeah.
I can't believe I always gripe about people saying that, and then I said it.
Yep.
That thing is really pretty right now. That gun is actually turning out really nice. It actually looks better than the original that I'm finishing with it to send to you guys. It actually it looks a lot better than the original. That thing is nice, man.
Joe, you had something to say, Joe. I could see your lips moving, but I couldn't hear you.
I don't even remember what I said.
You're talking about Remingtons.
Yeah, I've got a pair of Remingtons too. I actually really love the way the Remingtons feel and shoot. The Colts, what I gravitate back to. But my Remington shoot beautifully.
Any trouble with binding?
No.
Must have a good loop.
I always have a binding problem with mine, but everybody else says they have cap problems with Colts. But I don't know why I like Colts. I'm a Colt guy. I don't mind the Remingtons. I think they're still nice guns.
I think the open top revolvers are just some of the prettiest guns ever made.
I would agree. I would agree.
If I had my choice, I would get them in a conversion. I love the conversion models of those guns, but I still have the black powder. The 1860s one I've never had. I've never shot an 1860, and I am trying to get a pair. I just haven't for some reason. I would always see the 51s or the new model armies in there in a store, and you never see the 1860s around here.
Yeah, that's well. Yeah. In reality, the 51 has a lot more history than the 60 army because, like, all the 60 armies, especially right off the bat, went to the army, right. And whereas the 51 navies were in everybody's hands 10 years prior to that, and so. And after the Civil War, everybody starts converting them and everything. So they don't have that long of a lifespan, but they are cool guns. They really are.
And it points so naturally, too. I mean, the 51 is pointing guns.
I think it's probably the best pointable gun ever made, personally. Yeah. In the grip. I just love the setup. And the thing that's kind of nice about the 51s, even the 1860s, is if you really wanted to be authentic to, like, the cowboy era, having a conversion 51 Navy or a 1860 would be much more common than what you would see of single action armies or any of the actual purpose made guns back then. Most people had conversion.
Yeah.
The Lone Dragoon said that I started with the Colt 2nd generation 3rd model Dragoon. Got it for a song and a dance at a local pawn shop when I turned 18. I have to say that after the 51 Navy, out of all of the cap and ball revolvers, my second favorite is going to be the 3rd model Dragoon, or just the Dragoon in general.
I would say the first model was the best.
But that's because you have one.
That's because I have one. And I'm sure one day if I ever get a 3rd model, I'll say the 3rd models were the best too. But no, that's actually a really cool way to start off. But most people start with the 51 Navy, 1860, or the new model Army Remington. But man, a Dragoon for your first one, that's a test. That's a test. That'll actually teach you a lot, and it's expensive, so you're actually really going to be into it by the time you're shooting that thing.
Shoot, yeah.
So, Joe,
I actually think that
any of the big bore cap and ball revolvers like that into the Walkers, Dragoons.
I do have a Walker. I don't have any of the Dragoons, but I do have a Walker.
Yeah. Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Dragoon is a very good looking gun.
My problem is every time I buy a gun like that, I feel like I got to buy a pair of them, so it's costing me double every time I get something.
Well, if you buy it from Midway on your birthday, you'll be better off.
Somebody here join me.
Hardy wants to know, Snapper. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying they always send me those birthday things, and I'm like, all right, let me see what I can get now.
Hardy said, so Snapper, when do you plan on getting an original Sharps?
Probably not for a very, very long time. There's a couple guns that I have on my list of like what I want to get next, and the ones that I really want cost more than in a reasonable amount of money that anybody would be willing to spend. But I want them.
He started his original lever action Winchester collection.
That too. I got a long ways to go.
Man,
come back when I'm about 60, and I'll hopefully have one by then.
Okay, there's a good series of questions here because Diane Houston said Remingtons are not bad if you use Blackie's gun butter. Absolutely true. Man, my binding up Remingtons will run forever on that Blackie's gun butter. So Louisiana Gray said, but what did they use before Blackie came along? And Classic Guns Today said grease, I would guess. Now, this is a very interesting subject right here, and Snapper can jump in and interrupt me or correct me at any time. But when Colts were the cap and ball revolver for a long time, there was no Remington. I mean, there was, but not until the Civil War did it become a real big deal. You do not lube a Colt revolver with anything. No grease,
bing, bing, bing.
No wads, nothing. When you bought the revolver, it would say that in big print right in the lid of the box. Do not use grease or wads. Fill the chamber to capacity and press the round ball. That's what it said to do. And Remington's what the trouble was when the Civil War kicked off, they started having actual leading issues in the barrels because people were actually using these things in battle. So they got to where they would dip them in a wax after the cartridge was formed, because in the Civil War, not using loose powder and ball, using cartridges. Form a cartridge, dip the cartridge in a wax, and then load it and shoot it. And that was standard for Remingtons, Colts, everybody. And they really found out that, maybe some Colts and cap jams, but Remingtons, not just Remingtons, Colt 55 pocket models and rifles, anything with the top strap ran into binding issues because that little bit of wax was not enough. Now, obviously, some people figured out you can put bear grease and everything else over the barrels, but over the chambers. But as far as these things, when they were used historically in battle, where they were most used in the Civil War, nothing but that thin layer of wax on that bullet was your lube. And if your gun couldn't handle it, you were just out of luck. And that's why, honestly, even after the war, a lot of people still preferred Colts. And I know some people will disagree with me, but
one thing you did miss, though, is it does say to lube the arbor pin between cleanings.
Yeah.
So it was like zero lube. There was no lube over the cartridges. Nothing like that. It was just you lube the arbor pin, and you would have like an oil coated lube over the whole gun. But yeah, when paper cartridges first came out, some of them didn't even have that wax on it, and they realized that hey, you get less leading by adding. At first they started with paraffin wax, and then it went to a lamb's tallow and beeswax mix. And I don't know why they did that. I've never experimented with which one is better. But yeah, with Colts, if you're loading it, I add lube over mine just to help shoot every now and then. But now that I'm using Blackie's stuff, I use it the way he said and just coat the barrel and don't put anything over the bullet. So you're shooting the gun much more like it was originally. And yeah, that sounds great.
I never lube Colts. I haven't. I for a while there, I used wads when I was first starting, but I just don't. Now, there's one caveat to this. They did the Texas Rangers, if you look back in the history, at one point did use a grease over their Pattersons.
Yeah.
But that wasn't to keep it running. That was to keep it waterproof.
Yep.
And so, I don't use it at all on Colts. You have to use it on Remingtons, but, that's just my story. What do
I
you
saw
think,
a thing
Joe?
on the... You there, Joe?
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on the subject?
Like I've heard of them using, the stuff over for the Pattersons. I haven't really heard much about anybody using anything with the Remingtons, but I mean, it makes sense, because with that top strap, you're going to have, everything's got to go through there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you've got it figured out more than 99% of people who don't understand that top strap catches fouling and sends it right back down to the pin.
Yeah.
Yep. If you can get that pin nice and free, especially in honest to God, Blackie's gun butter is the only stuff I've ever seen that works as good. You could put 100 rounds through a Remington and it's still free. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. It's shocking.
I need to order me
But
some.
one more thing that people used to do back in the day too was candle wax. They would lightly melt, like when they'd put a cap on a gun, they would lightly add candle wax all the way around it to help waterproof the backside as well.
Here, I thought you were going to say Crisco.
Crisco is the only reason why we need to get the Crisco kid on here one of these days.
That's my absolute favorite Duke short.
Well, mine too.
Since you guys burnt the Crisco factory down, we can't get our guns to work. You shouldn't use Crisco. Why? It's not going to be invented for Fort Lustrum. If we had it, we'd have used it. If that's the case, he pulls out his 1911. We'd have used it.
If you guys probably don't know where this came from, but it started in a comment from
Everything Black Powder.
Everything Black Powder, yeah. I was
the instigator there on accident.
Yeah. We need to get the Crisco kid.
He said something about running like 180 rounds through his Remington without any kind of binding with just Crisco. I was like, well, Crisco's good, but 180 rounds, you're going to have a hard time running that through any cap and ball revolver with anything without having to stop and clean it. But yeah. Yeah,
he was basically saying that Blackie's gun butter was just us trying to just sell a product. And it's like, not really.
It works.
It works, man. Holy cow, does it work.
I
You
watched
imagine
the
the
video
black
today.
powder build up after 180 rounds?
Oh, it'd be insane.
It'd
be
be
insane.
Let's let our guest talk.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
I watched a video today, because he was talking about putting the beeswax and stuff over the nipples and the chambers. And I just seen a video today. I don't remember who posted it, but he did just that. He put beeswax into the chambers, and he put beeswax over the nipples and dumped the gun, and it did not work. So, and then he recapped them, and then they shot, but it was kind of hit.
Are you talking about InRange TV?
Maybe that's who did it. I can't remember who did
Yeah.
it. I've seen the video.
I saw him do it once, but I think he didn't do it correct. He just smeared it on at the top instead of actually sticking it under.
Well, in this one, he melted it in like over the nipples and over the chambers.
Oh,
And he had
okay.
he actually dunked it for like 5 seconds, and some of them, like the caps would go off, but it wouldn't shoot the chamber. So he recapped them, and most of them fired, and then he just tried to just quickly dunk it just to see if, So I guess in the end he decided it was kind of weather resistant, but obviously not weatherproof.
I know that Samuel Colt did a test. I don't remember who it was in front. It was like the ordnance board where he dunked I don't remember. I think it was a 51 Navy, but I'm not sure. It could have been a Dragoon.
It was a
He put it in a bucket of water for 24 hours, came back, and then shot all 6 rounds.
Nice.
So I don't know what he did differently, but yeah.
big difference. Ely's double waterproof caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get those today.
That was his selling point, and unless somebody makes some today, you'll never be able to replicate that. Yeah, I don't think wax would replicate it either. But the caps of the era were for military use, and so that
was a
might
big
have been the
seller
difference.
for the 51 Navy because they were like, wow, we can even use this in a torrential rain, basically. But yeah.
We got a new viewer out here. Hootie Who is in.
Oh,
Hootie
Hello.
Who. Hi. Yeah, Hardy said his favorite Duke one was with General Jack Parsnip. Yeah, guys, go check out Classic Guns today. He said, I used Blackie's stuff today on my Schofield 45 Colt. Got me through 15 rounds. Started really gumming up at 10. Yeah.
Really?
That's on his Schofield, though. That's a little different ball game. The Schofield, replica Schofields have a little bit of a... I know, Joe, you shoot one, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a pair of Schofields, and they don't like black powder.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And Ethan can... Because Ethan's handled a lot of the replicas and the originals. So what's the original like compared, Ethan? Does it...
the original's better, but you still have to use grease on the arbor on the original. With the replica, you can get away with it in certain kinds of grease and certain kinds of like gun butter or whatever. But yeah, they all are going to bind after a certain amount of time, certain amount of rounds.
Yeah. Classic Gun said, I used Blackie's stuff today in my... Oh, yeah, we already read that. Sorry. Hardy wants to know, so what made Ely's double waterproof cap so special? Is it... Read it, Snapper. I can't read that.
Oh, cap so special. Was it replicable?
That's a bad Okay, so Ely's
replicatable. Yeah.
Ely's are a lot thicker wall cap. The double wall, obviously, they're double walled, as in the name. And it's just the way that it sits down and seals. I don't know if it had a wax seal. I'd have to talk to Duke about it.
I've seen them. They do have a little bit of wax built into them. It's not a lot, though. It's actually very little. But
the main thing is very thick walled, designed to sit all the way down over the entire nipple. And then, it's meant for that particular gun. And that's just what it was the selling point for him back in the day.
And they really needed that because, they were in the elements
24/7. Yeah.
And you don't read about the failures. Obviously, there's one particular cap jam that one guy on here likes to remind me about all the time that happened. But you don't necessarily, on any of the guns, you'll read about the 55 root pistol binding. That's a big one. The Colt revolving rifle binding, that's a big one. It's not just Remingtons, and the Remington binding, that's a big one. You'll read a few things about the Colts, this and that, but what you won't read about is a lot of weather-related issues to the cap and ball revolvers of the time. Maybe I've missed it, but it doesn't seem to me like I've read a lot about it.
Yeah.
I think they did very well in protecting their guns at all times.
Full flap holster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody now wants the gun sitting up out of a holster, but they covered the gun back then pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Toe plugs, full flap holsters. That gun shouldn't get wet unless you're fighting in the rain, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're fighting a lot, it might actually be a benefit in a weird way. Noticing how that if you do get a gun all sticky, how little water it took to actually clean it up, to actually get it running again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you did a whole video on that, didn't you, Snapper? I forgot.
Yeah. That was still like one of my favorite videos I ever made, just because I was so curious about that. And then it was like, wow, like it takes no water to get one of those guns, like almost no water to get one of those guns from so bind you can't move it to it's slick like it's been oiled and it's clean. I mean, it's less than a spit right on the arbor pin. Right. It was pretty neat.
What'd you say, Joe?
I said the water just breaks apart the black powder so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, the one problem I have with spit is I kind of figured this out early on with muzzle loading rifles and using spit patches. That's the same as putting salt water down your barrel.
It is.
You better clean. It's like Pyrex.
Yeah.
Oh. Classic Guns Today said, imagine fording a deep river with a ball and cap pistol. Yeah. You don't want to plan for that.
I bet you they look like the Vietnam guys with their M16s above their heads.
Yeah. Look a lot like be a lot better than fording the river with a flintlock.
Yeah.
I watched Davy Crockett. I know how you do it.
And then did he club that alligator in that movie? I was watching that the other day with Jeremiah. I can't remember if he clubbed at the alligator with that flintlock rifle or not.
Yep. He clubbed
but I know it got wet. And the first thought that entered my mind is he's going to be very, very busy trying to clear that flintlock, get it back in running order.
Not in Hollywood.
Well, he used his knife when he found him. He threw his knife when he found him. He didn't fire his rifle. Maybe that's why.
Davy Crockett.
Yeah. There's still a scene in that show that I got question. I'll throw a question out to anybody in the chat who knows. There is a scene in that show, and I've asked this before, where they do a panning shot with the rifle as the Indian's running along, and he shoots the Indian right before it gets to Georgie, and there is a 3-second flame of fire that sets in that pan and burns for 3 seconds. What in the world could have been in that pan that would have a flame like a candle flame burning out of that pan for like 3 seconds? I still haven't figured that out.
It's not just that movie either. I watched The Patriot the other day, and there's some really good flintlock footage on that. But if you watch it, there's a few times you can sit there. It's just like David Crockett. You just see that fire burning in the pan for like 3 seconds. So I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
That's fascinating.
Worse than Pyrex. Little campfire in the fan.
Yeah, bro. Or whenever you have your brother sitting there with a lighter holding it over.
We have seen had to light a few flintlocks off with lighters before. It doesn't work that well.
I bet.
I'd like to get me, like I got a while back, I got to watching this guy, and he squirrel hunts with I think a 31 caliber, or maybe a 36 caliber flintlock, and it's just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. Well, there's Black Powder TV. Bob McBride used to do that, but he didn't really film the squirrel hunting. But wouldn't be Spirit of the Outdoors, would it?
I don't remember. I'm bad about remembering. I watched somebody over and over and over again before I ever remember who they are.
Well, Justin from Spirit of the Outdoors is down there in, I think he's in Mississippi, and he built one, 36, and he takes it out. I like to watch him quite a bit. Uncle Sasquatch is tight with him.
Yeah, that might be who it is because I want to say they were down in Mississippi somewhere because I was like, man, that'd be fun.
Yeah, he tends to he just kind of runs around. He does a lot of homesteading stuff, but a lot of firearm stuff. You guys in the chat haven't checked him out, go check out Spirit of the Outdoors. I really like that channel. And but what always gets me is he does most everything down there barefoot. Like he'll be boiling water in the shed making walnut dye or something, and he'll be like, well, I should probably put some shoes on. And I'm like, well, that's my brother Caleb right there. Oh my. Hardy says or like John Wayne's Alamo, what are they shooting to get gasoline fires coming out of the guns and cannons?
Yeah.
You know what? That could be why it burned too. They probably added either like a wood powder in the pan or something to make the bigger flash more, whatever.
Could be.
When they like mixing some wood powder in with the black powder, so when it sparks, it would throw a bigger something.
Well, the thing
I don't know.
A lot of people think, and there was a discussion in a black powder, not forum, but Facebook group I'm in, and there is a picture of Fess Parker with one of those trapdoor flintlocks holding up this, and there were people who swore they're like, yeah, that was all he used in those movies. That's actually, he did use a real flintlock in Davy Crockett.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that the trapdoor he was holding up and he was wearing a coonskin cap, I think that was from the Daniel Boone TV series, and they got it mistaken.
I believe you're right on that because I'm pretty sure that picture or that what you're talking about was from the from that show and not the Davy Crockett.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that rifle that was used in King of the Wild Frontier. If you don't know what you're looking for, that's an original Lancaster style rifle. With I believe it's actually in 41. It was actually located a few years ago in a prop house, and a guy bought it for like $1,200 and opened it up, look under the barrel, signed Fess Parker, Buddy Epson in the stock under the barrel, and he was just elated. But if you watch, you can always tell that gun because that gun was used in previous movies, and they had broken the tip of the ramrod off. And if you watch that broken tip ramrod, Bigfoot will use it in a shooting competition, and then Davy Crockett will use it, and then somebody else will use it, and the natives will have it, and it travels all over the place because it's one of the best looking, rifles. It's an original rifle, and it looks really good. So they put it in about every other shot. It just shows up over and over and over again. And the last time I think I actually see it is where he guns down the cannon crew at the very end. And I watched that because I used to study it. It's got a broken off heart. It should have a heart in the stock, but the heart's broken and it looks like a half moon. And I remember I always thought, I wonder where that went. And then it came up an article in 2013 or so. The guy was like, yeah, I bought this. It was marked prop gun used for Frontier movies. And he bought it out in LA, opened it up. Sure enough, signed Fess Parker, Buddy Epson right across it. And I think he even got back with Fess Parker right before he died, and they did a deal on it. But, it is a cool gun. It really is, because they used an original. And you don't see that very often in Disney movies.
Yeah.
They use trapdoors for everything.
Or that's like Bonanza. They pull the handguard off of a 92 and use that as a Henry. And
nickel plated. That's the shiniest Henry with a loading gate you ever did see. I loved it as a kid. I always thought that's got to be the coolest rifle. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, nickel plated, no handguard. I was like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about that gun that's special.
What was the other one the other one we were talking about today was Zulu. We're talking about Martini Henrys. I said, you know what? If you really look really close in that movie in high definition, you see a little bit of a problem when you see the Lee Enfield No. 4 Mark 1s loaded with black powder blank shooting over the wall. And they're just running them like a bolt action. They're just straight shooting like that.
Wow.
I
gotta check that out. Yeah.
I call out the Ferris wheel of death in that movie where they just go up, down, up, down, up, down.
It's basically Bounding. I can't remember the actual name of it, but it's basically a very short version of Bounding.
I remember the first time I saw Zulu. I actually watched it with Ethan. I think you'd watched it before me. And first, it's like, oh, it's just another older, military movie from the 60s. And it's like, it's no big deal. And then they get into that where they actually start using the tactics. And that was the first time I set up and I said, whoa, a single shot rifle used with the correct tactics is one of the deadliest things on the 19th century battlefield, because it was just like up, down, up, down, up, down, 3 ranks of fire, 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 fire. It's like take the Napoleonic War stuff times 10. And it's just so awesome to see in that show. I absolutely love it.
I've never seen that.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's really good.
Not Zulu Dawn, Zulu.
Right.
Who's that? Richard Harris and
Alfred.
I don't remember the name of the
Alfred. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
It was made in the 60s, wasn't it? 60s or 70s?
It's older, but man, it's
good.
One of the movies where they put the tactics on. It's like if Quigley put the rifle out front and center, this movie put military tactics front and center, and it was awesome.
Now the one I got to get
rare on movies.
I got to get Garrett to watch Waterloo now. He hadn't seen that yet. I watched it earlier.
I haven't seen that since I was a little kid. I don't even remember it. I need to watch it too.
Sorry, Stanley Baker and Michael Caine.
Yeah, there you go.
That's who it is.
Oh, Waterloo's good.
It's a heck of a story on Zulu, though. Like that's an amazing story. It's based in real life too. It's an amazing story.
Basically, it's what would have happened at the Battle of Little Bighorn if Custer had used some sense.
Yeah,
because the only difference there is, first of all, they're outnumbered way more than Custer was by the natives.
Yeah.
And the natives, by the way, do have over 1,000 firearms at that fight. They really do.
Yeah.
And the only difference is they took the time to get entrenched, and get into behind some walls.
And one other difference, that was an infantry on infantry battle. But
that is true, but I don't know if the numbers.
Zulu, I thought they were engineers. I thought that in Zulu, the real life, they were engineers.
Okay, yeah, they were engineers. I shouldn't say it's ground troops, foot soldiers versus foot soldiers. Be a better way of putting that. But yeah, I think the commander was an engineer. I don't know if they were all engineers. I can't remember.
I can't remember. I know there's the field hospital. I know it was the field hospital there.
The long and short of it is, if Custer had held up on the hill and never went down and dug a trench, he'd probably been in the exact same shape. But anyway,
we'll put it this way, Garrett. We may or may not be acquiring a Martini Henry so we can keep the rivalries going.
I hope so. I'd love to see a Martini Henry. I want one really bad. I wish I could go back to the 10 years ago when you could get them cheap.
One of us started enjoying trapdoors, so of course the other one has to come up with something different.
Yeah, Ethan.
Hey, I like I told Garrett and I told everybody else, I really don't have a dog in the whole single shot rifle fight. But I feel like the trapdoor has been dealt a little bit of a bad hand as far as people commenting on it. A lot of people say it's a bad rifle. That is actually a very effective fighting rifle.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I like it too.
I like the people they're just such a weak action. Oh, just so weak. Well, if they were so weak, then why did the U.S. military adopt it?
Okay. Count of two. 2 military failures on account of a trapdoor popping open. 2. And they immediately changed the whole thing. They made it wider. They made it stronger. And they didn't pop open because the powder, it was too hot. They popped open because they failed to get the door latch down. And, oh my. And all of a sudden, all over the world, we hear this with trapdoor is the weakest action of the era. It probably is. It's weaker than rolling block. I'll give you that. It's probably weaker than the Sharp.
It's not weak enough. What in the world
are you going to load in it that's strong enough to blow it up in the 1800s?
Right.
You can't get more than 70 grains of powder in there. It's
plenty strong for its design.
It's kind of like the Colt open top revolvers in the 1800s. Doesn't make a difference if they have a top strap or not, because there's not ammunition on the market available that can hurt them.
Yeah. Me and Garrett were having this conversation earlier today. And we were talking about the trapdoors, and everybody's saying, "Oh, the action's so weak." Well, how strong do you have to have the action? I mean, it'll obviously handle the round you put in it, which is a buffalo round. Like
Oh, Ethan by Landon C has a point here. Said get a Remington Lee instead.
Oh yeah, I do like. See, there's where you get on my. Yeah, never mind. I'm a little bit of a Lee Enfield fanboy, and that's kind of a big part of that history. Yeah.
Classic Guns Today said some of the most brilliant tacticians or engineers: George Washington, Robert E. Lee, I think, Douglas MacArthur.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, you look at everything like it's a problem and then figure out how to fix the problem instead of, But I mean, infantry thinks the same way too.
I was going to say, I thought the infantry, well, it depends on which country and which time frame, but the infantry method, no, that's mainly just the way Russians handle their infantry. Keep throwing them at them. Hit it harder.
Do what you're told and shut up and go that way because I told you to. Yeah.
So, Joe, you were kind of talking about trapdoor down there. That's kind of my era here lately. I've been loving trapdoors. Got a trapdoor? What do you think? You got any thoughts?
I don't have a trapdoor. I used to know somebody that let me shoot his all the time, and I mean, I don't remember which version of it was, but I mean, you can still shoot a pretty nice load out of one, and I don't. They may be weak by today's standards, but I mean, they were pretty stout for their day.
Mm-hmm. Nothing on the market at the time could have hurt them. I mean, nothing. It wouldn't have mattered. A lot of people are like, yeah, but in a Sharps, you could load up like a 40 or a 45 150. Yeah, you could, but you don't have to worry about doing that in a trapdoor because there ain't enough room in the receiver to get it in there.
Right.
So
well, it's like, I mean, let's think about it. It's a service rifle. That's like saying that the M4 is worthless because, and I'm sure they beefed one up and made it that way, but that's like saying the M4 carbine is worthless because you can't get something in that same package that's chambered in 338 Lapua.
Mm-hmm.
Or say 50 cal. It's worthless because you can't put 50 BMG in an M4.
I mean, think about it. At the time, we were going to war against humans with buffalo rifle rounds.
Yeah, that's a heck of a round.
How much more do you need in a military rifle? 45-70 is pretty hot.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
even
man.
On the lower spectrum, I've been reloading for 1886 here lately, and so I still load some of the trapdoor rounds just because they're, a lot more pleasant to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It'll do a number on whatever you're shooting. So, I mean,
Yep.
You're loading 70 grains of black powder. You got a 45-70, I assume.
Yeah.
I've been watching some guys shooting 1886s in 5110, I think. Is that the biggest they made?
Yeah. I think that was the biggest, wasn't it? 5110.
Yeah. Because you're right. I started thinking the Sharps, but yeah, I think that is the biggest one for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you have an experience with Sharps?
I used to have a Sharps. I would love to get a Quigley Sharps from Shiloh, but
you don't have $5,000 in 5 years.
I'm bad about whenever I order something, I want it. I don't want to wait years. So,
yep, you and Snapper about the same way. I think Snapper he orders something. From what I understand, he just sits by the mailbox like a puppy dog every day. Don't you, Snapper?
Yep.
Amazon has spoiled. How do you think you got to have it? In 2
right
days?
now. Yep. Well, I always hate it when I buy a gun just because I'm like, oh man, I got 24 hours and I can't sleep at all the whole 24 hours prior.
Yeah.
So I'm up the whole time.
Then there's me over here ordering from the rifle shop, and I pretty much gave them my money. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just going to pretend like I never, ever ordered this thing. And when it shows up in the mail one of these days, I'll be pleasantly
A
surprised.
year from now.
Yeah.
Well, you guys aren't as bad off as poor Caleb. Caleb and I, we went on a hunt for the entire Trapdoor series. That means 65, the 66, the 70, the 73, the 73 carbine, the 84, actually the 69 cadet rifle, the 84, the 88. So, and the 83 shotgun. So there's 10 of them. We got all of them except the 65. They only made 5,000 1865s.
No.
If you're lucky, across the entire internet, maybe 2 will come up for sale once a year. And So we were looking for a full length 3-band. They were selling for like $4,000. It was really hurting us. Wasn't going to be one come up. So we finally settled down and got a really nice Academy cut down. It was cut down by a company for a school in Connecticut. Very nice, very well cared for. And we got it down to $2,500. Well, when we bought the entire set, we made payments on it. So we bought this thing back in January. And that's the one Caleb's been waiting on and waiting on and waiting on. And we got all of them paid off. Sends it in the mail. Gets here. I start filming it for mail call. Hey, look what we got here. I'm like, oh, look how nice the end of it is. Look how nice. And then Caleb gets down there and he goes, this is a 66. What we already have 3 of. I said, you have got to be kidding me. A cut down 66. So we just went from like a $2,500 gun down to like a $250 gun. And so I finally emailed the guy and he was like, well, are you sure you got the wrong rifle? Yeah, got the wrong rifle. Definitely got the wrong rifle. He's like, send me the serial number. And I said, they don't have serial numbers. And so long story short, finally the guy goes, all right, so send it back to me. I'll send you the gun. So poor Caleb, when he thought his hopes and dreams have been relived about 2 weeks ago, is still waiting.
He's still waiting. I ordered a car once that was kind of similar like that. It took 4.5 years to get it from the day I ordered it.
And then
I didn't even own it for a quarter of that length. I mean, I got rid of it almost right away. But yeah.
Then there's infamous Smith & Wesson No. 3 American ivory gripped pistol from Nevada.
Oh yeah, man! I wish I would have known you guys back then. I wish I would have known you guys back then.
He got our money, but we never got that pistol.
But anyway,
I wish I would have known you guys when that happened, because man, I would have been out there for you guys.
Back to the chat for you, Ethan. Benjamin Jordan says, "Have you ever seen a Ferguson rifle replica pictures or of the original?"
Oh, about Ferguson's. Yeah, there are replicas, but they're made by. They're basically, I can't think of anybody else who does it besides the rifle shop, and those are, as I say, legitimate builds. It's not like when you, it's not like a Kibler. Like the Kiblers are even kind of, take a little more skill. Not the Woodrunner. The Woodrunner just, you can put that thing together with your eyes closed. It's easy. But like the Colonial and the Southern Mountain Rifle, they're a little bit of a challenge. I haven't done it yet, but I've done a few videos on it. Done some of the lock parts, and you're getting you're getting just a big old pile of castings, a barrel, and a mostly shaped, roughed out stock. So you kind of got to have somebody who knows what they're doing to build one of those up. But I'm debating, because I've got my hands on a little bit of money, and I'm debating on what I kind of want to get with it, because I'm allowed
Martini Henry.
Well, there's a Martini Henry or a Snyder or a No. 3 American, another No. 3 American that's a Wells Fargo model.
Ooh. Or you could get a single action army.
No.
He said,
you know why he doesn't want one? Because I guarantee you,
he came into a little bit of money, not a lot of money.
No, I came into quite a bit, and as much as
you haven't priced a full length. What he's talking about, single action army here lately.
Yeah, they're stupid now.
I almost bought a single action army, but it was in rough shape. Very rough shape.
I had my collection valued not too long ago, and I believe, if I remember right, my single action army in the 4 3/4 one was valued at a little over $8,000. That's like $8,300. Yeah. I was blown away.
That's a cut down. You're looking at $12,000 for a full length original. That's
for a really nice full length one. Yeah, you're looking at close to 10 these days, if not more.
Yeah, so like
for a nice one.
Like I said, you fell into a little bit of money, not a lot of money.
Yeah, not that much. but I have seriously considered getting I was thinking about it, something like a Whitworth maybe, with a 6-power optic.
That'd be cool. That would be really cool.
I've thought about that. I have Yeah, I keep on looking. I'm like, but no, I could get that. I could get that one. No, okay, yeah, we just won't get anything. We'll sit here and imagine which one we're gonna get until I finally drop the hammer and get one.
I was looking on the rifle shop, and that Ferguson does sound like a really cool toy.
Yeah,
I think they're so neat.
So I had an idea, and I thought about it because the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War will be coming up here in 2025. April 18th of 2025 will be the 250th anniversary of Lexington and Concord. Actually, no, 18th and 19th. And I actually considered doing a video for that, where by 2025 I have all of the main firearms of the Revolutionary War, because people don't realize that there's actually a lot of different models that were used.
Yeah,
you know, I like the people who think a flintlock's a flintlock. I mean, no, you've got things like the Colonial Long Rifle, which you really can't just pin one down, the American Long Rifle, because there's just so many different variations. But American Long Rifle, the Ferguson, the pattern 1776, short land pattern musket, the long land pattern, the 66 Charleville, the 63 Charleville, the 73 Charleville, all the Charleville 1728s. Do what?
You had a bunch of brown Besses too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variations.
There's a lot of guns.
If you start getting down that rabbit trail too much, you end up with like the 1716 Marine model French musket, the 1717 French model musket, you know, the 28, a lot of different ones like that. And then you got all the Dragoon models, all the carbines. But I would like to have just the main models, like a Ferguson, a American Long Rifle, a wall gun, short land pattern, long land pattern, 63, 66 Charlevilles, and maybe like a 1717 and a 1728. Yeah, pretty much that right there.
There weren't many Fergusons though, were there? I mean, there were like only like 500 or something. There were like none.
I'd have to look at my book. I believe there were 1,000. There were only 800.
I heard something about like they spent crazy amounts of money per gun. Like it was more money than any other gun that the British had invested in at the time.
When Ferguson died, he didn't even have one.
Yeah. The
powder. So when he died on the mountain and he swore he couldn't get off of, which he's still there today. He didn't have his own rifle with him. Oh man, that sucks. That'd have been cooler if he'd have died with his own rifle though.
But yeah, I'm trying to think here. Let's see here. No, the powder was super expensive, and I think it was the same powder that pattern 1776 used, the quote extra fine double strength glazed powder, which is basically 2FG powder. We've kind of come to agree on that. That stuff was pretty expensive.
Twice compressed, 2FG glazed with grapevine, made from grapevine.
Yeah, and that's the powder was expensive, but the rifles, it said that I can't remember who all it was who worked on the spirals in the breech plug. I'm pretty sure that Nock was one of them. But they said there was only a handful of gunsmiths who could get that
to do that. Yeah, it's a multi-start. It was a multi-start thread, like 11-point multi-start thread or something. It was crazy.
But the funny thing is, the Ferguson was not the first rifle that did that. A lot of people don't realize it. Some people say it's the first adopted or used military breech-loading rifle. It really isn't. There was a model, and I don't have my book here with me, but there was a model in the French and Indian War that did the same thing. The big difference between those two is when you start unscrewing that Ferguson breech, it'll actually stop. Whereas the other one
would just keep going.
Yeah, and I believe it was a lot tighter thread too, so you kind of had to sit there and do this for a while, and if you're in the heat of combat, you may just drop it right out the bottom. So
that's not fun.
Yep.
That is a thought I had. Oh, and a Jaeger. I need a Jaeger too eventually.
Oh, one more thing to Ethan. Yeah, Atlatl Man said Cromwell with Richard Harris from the same era is really good as well for a match like that.
Oh, yes.
You're singing Ethan's tune now.
I like that movie.
All right, get back over here. Well, got a couple more here. Gina Wood said, been listening all evening while coming back from Wichita. Enjoy listening. Cool picture behind Snapper. That's your dad's, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm actually sitting in my dad's chair. Like, my parents passed, and I'm at their house still selling it, trying to sell it off. But I haven't taken this part of the house down yet. And this is like where my dad was all the time. Nice little leather chair I bought him a couple of years ago. That really cool because it moves. It's like hydraulic, like electric. It's cool. But but this picture, the jet behind it. So you have a P-51 chasing a Messerschmitt Me-262. My father was an aircraft mechanic, and my father worked for a company in the 1990s out of Dallas, Texas, that were building flyable replicas of the German 262. They bought an original, and they completely took it apart, and they had made each part into a mold for new parts. And so when they built these planes, they were 100% identical to the original Me-262s, except for they used the different engines because the original engines weren't very reliable. I don't remember what engines they were. I believe they were off of like the Lear 25s or 30s. It was a modern jet engine that actually produced more power than the originals were. And very cool. A matter of fact, a couple of our friends around here, my father worked on, one of them accidentally crashed his. He had a P-51 Mustang, and he killed himself in it about a year ago. Unfortunately, he hit the ground. He was. They like to go to these canyons and run right through them, and he ended up touching the ground with his. But if you ever look up on the internet a 262 and you type in White 1, which is a 2-seat version, my father built that entire wing that's on that aircraft.
Wasn't that? I'm trying to remember that Messerschmitt jet. Didn't that have like a 7-minute rocket engine on it? You basically had 7 minutes of fuel or something like that?
That was a different aircraft. This one is a twin engine. It was the very first jet ever, like jet fighter ever. And the engines didn't last very long, though. I think they only had like a working hour of like 4 or 5 hours before they had to be rebuilt. But it was the fastest thing ever. And Hitler wanted them used as bombers instead of fighters. So he had made this stupid system where they would tow behind a bomb because it was so fast, but it wasn't used the right way. And one kind of a neat thing that was about that aircraft, the original one they pulled apart, when they pulled it apart, the original guns were still in the aircraft. It had like a 30 millimeter cannon, and a bunch of other original guns were still in it. They just cut the barrels off and fiberglassed over it when it went to the museum. So they didn't realize that they left those in there. And when they bought it, it was like, oh crap, we got these really nice cannons here. But yeah, that was the first time I ever saw the ATF in real life, was when I was a little kid coming to pick those up. Yeah, they were pretty upset because they were like, well, we could just drill into them or something so we don't have to take them away. But yeah.
Joe had something to say there. I didn't know what it was.
I was going to say the scene behind you in that picture, I believe, is from an actual fight where a P-51, I think you actually shot down the Messerschmitt.
Yep. I don't know on this one, but I know that the people who have shot down the 262, one was a flying pass where the 262 was landing. Because the 262 was way faster than all the other ones. This thing would break Mach 1, but you'd rip the wings off. So if you did it, you weren't known for doing it because you probably die. But right. The P-38 would do that too. It would actually get into a compressor stall, and the wind would cause it so you would lose control of the aircraft. So if you got into a dive, you couldn't get it out of the dive. And that's what made them so deadly, is when you get around Mach 1, the airplane became unflyable. And there was no real way to slow down. Even if you cut the power, it'd take you a long time, and usually they didn't have enough room to pull back out. But all the ones I know of were shot down, except one they were all landing when they were shot down. And I believe this is an account of that one. I believe this is Bud Anderson.
Okay.
If I remember right. He caught one right going towards a B-17 bomber. I think this is a picture of it. And he was lucky because the Me-262 was slow enough.
You guys and your modern airplanes. I remember in 1995, I fought the Red Baron on Windows 3.1.
I was going to say
biplanes and triplanes, man, and that was it.
Yeah, that was always the planes I really liked. The Fokker DR1, the Albatross D5A.
And the Sopwith Camel, baby.
No, I was definitely the German planes.
I'm thinking of a different jet, but I remember, you ever seen the show Dogfights that had all the dogs on the computer? And I just remember seeing a P-51 going after a jet, like in an actual dogfight. But I think it was in Korea.
That happened in Korea with the MiG-15s a couple times. We had the F-86 fighter at that time, which was a jet fighter. It looks a lot like the MiG-15, but we also still had, I believe we had a couple Mustangs in that war still, and we had a lot of Corsairs in Korea.
Pretty cool. My brother is the World War II buff. Like, I'm interested in it, but I don't study it like he does. But he's more.
I hadn't studied it in years. My father was into it big time, but I knew about it when I was young because I kind of was around it a lot. But yeah, I never really took in too much. So,
well, my grandfather gave me a Japanese flag when I was right before he died in like 2002, and all he told me was, "Now it's a blood-stained Japanese flag," and he said, "Those bastards were putting it up. We took it down."
Mm-hmm.
He told me, and when he died, I found he had received bronze stars and 3 Purple Hearts. He kept, every time he would get shot, he would re-enlist because they would send his mom and dad $100 a month in rural Alabama at that time. So he would re-enlist, and I mean he did tours. He got his bronze stars for saving his platoon. With his, he said he loaded himself with a grenade and his rifle and took out a machine gun nest, on the beaches of Normandy.
Wow, pretty good.
Pretty interesting. But he didn't
don't
much
go
about
ahead.
it.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
I'm saying he didn't talk much about it. What we found out was mostly from reading his papers after he was gone.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
guys, we've been going for an hour 45 minutes. What do you say we give it another 10, 15 minutes here? You guys got any questions in the comments? Shout them out there, and we're going to kind of start wrapping this up. So, kind of back to Ethan. Put that down.
Oh,
I'm serious.
You're gonna get us in trouble, Ethan.
shotgun?
Yeah. So anyway,
Didn't that happen to y'all one time before?
No.
it was a different deal. It was on a movie review.
Yeah, had, I believe that had more to do with something that was said over on Plowboy's channel in the comment section.
No, it was in. We did a movie review and we didn't get copyright struck or anything, but our whole channel got struck down temporarily. It's like we couldn't do anything. We were froze. What's going on? Somebody had turned us in for
Misinformation
and false advertisement because they thought they were actually watching the movie on the poster that I put on the opening. And we weren't actually, like, we were showing pictures and doing silent parts of the movie and like talking over it. And so they turned us in for misinformation. And YouTube struck us. It was like 3:00 in the morning the next morning when we had written like emails all over the place. YouTube put the channel back, everything back, and said, "We apologize. You did not break any." But that was the last movie review too, though. So that's scary when you worked on a channel that long and it just disappears from under you.
It's sad that the fact that they would take just one person, their comment, and actually act on just one comment. You think that there needs to be a better system in place.
I don't know. I kind of had a theory about that because there was a certain conversation that we were having over on Plowboy's channel, and there was one dude who was very, very upset with us, me and Plowboy. And Plowboy was like, "You better watch what you'll say, or somebody will report you, and you'll get a channel strike." And it was like 10 minutes later that got that strike, and I was like, "Hey, Plowboy, guess what?"
What were you arguing about? I didn't even hear that part of it.
You see, Plowboy had made a video about the St. Lincoln.
Oh, Confederate. Okay, yeah.
And all I did was quote him. I just quoted Abraham Lincoln said, "If I could have preserved the Union by freeing the slaves, I would have done it. If I could have done it with leaving the slaves in slavery, I would have done that too. If I could have done it with leaving some slaves in slavery and freeing others, I would have done that as well." And there was some guy who he did not like where that was going. I was like, "Hey, I'm just quoting him."
History is offensive to some people with little brains.
Well, I'm dealing right now with, I believe I'm being shadow banned on my channel right now. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's so discouraging because, they're not cheap. These guns are not cheap to buy. They're not cheap to shoot. They're not,
Mhm.
and where a month ago I would post something that would have 2,000 views in 10 minutes. I mean, I'm getting 100 in these now. And it's just so
It's
that they can do that to you is kind of discouraging.
it's everybody. It's the I
Yeah.
think that for a while we were living in a glitched shorts world
Yeah.
where I was, we were getting, 200,000 views on a short, and we all were getting it. We were
Right.
all, and then I
Yeah.
think
Much more
this
successful than
system-
normal.
I think they figured out, we're letting these gun channels grow the way they ought to be because now if we get, 1,000 views on a short, it's a good day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went from getting 250 subscribers a day to just one day at like noon randomly just watched it and it just shut off to 0. I was like,
And I had one short video, and it got, I think it's at like 40 million views right now. And
Mhm.
getting so much off of that. And then as far as like views and subscriptions and everything, and it has crashed in the last,
Yeah, I know. Like Slick Six Guns had it happen. I think Everything Black Powder. I was talking to him about it too. It's like literally there was just 1 week about 2 months ago where they, they fixed the system back to where gun channels and history channels don't get it anymore. It's like
What's
somehow
crazy?
we all slipped through the cracks for about 2-3 months there.
yeah.
For 2 months. Oh, well, no, excuse me. It's probably 2 weeks or so. I had to resubscribe to Jay Wheeler's channel like 3 or 4 times. I would subscribe, and then I wouldn't get any comment, like any information they put up in a video, and I would see that he had put one up. I would click on the video, and it says you were unsubscribed. It's like, what the heck?
Well,
I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. Yeah, crazy.
That
I
too.
noticed that I was unsubscribed from AR American. That's the number one guy that I have to keep on going back to subscribe to. And then I started noticing there were channels that I was subscribed to I'd never heard of before. And then some
Me
of them I
too.
definitely there was a certain channel that I definitely would never subscribe to. I never watch any of their stuff. The Young Turks. Evidently, I subscribed to them somehow, and I was like, this is funny.
I've magically subscribed to him 3 times myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's several channels that I have never watched before and I wouldn't watch, and I'm subscribed to them. It's like, why am I subscribed to these people? I don't like them.
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
It's a weird system. I actually created an Instagram account just to talk to somebody once. It's kind of funny because I've got like more followers there than I do here. And all I did was post like one picture.
Yeah.
I found Instagram to be pretty. I've met a lot of good people on Instagram, but you definitely don't. It's hard to grow over there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just because people know me from here, I guess. But yeah, it was kind of funny because I was like, I wasn't really planning on doing anything with it, but now that I'm getting followers, I'm like, yeah, I might as well start doing stuff with it.
Yeah, I think I followed you on there just the other day.
Yeah.
So have you
I need to
tried
start
Rumble,
posting
Joe?
stuff.
Have you tried Rumble? Have you tried Rumble?
I Rumble. I cannot get a video to load to save my life.
I don't know if they fixed it. I started over there, uploaded like 5 videos over about 5 weeks, and I couldn't keep all the passwords lined out, and their interface was very difficult to use for an uploader, I thought.
Unfortunately, there are apps or websites, whatever, they come along and they want to be the gun friendly YouTube, but YouTube is like Facebook is like, it's YouTube is the king of the mountain, and you'll never have the audience on Rumble or any of the other ones that YouTube is going to have, and it's hard.
And we make it a point not to get political on this, and I'm not getting political here, but I just had to say that I agree with why everybody's going to Rumble. I mean, I get it, but the trouble is everybody that's there is there for the politics.
Right.
Nobody's there for an 1800s firearm, really,
Right.
And so
take everything like, and they go bring it somewhere else. So
Yep. And so we're just kind of hung out here to dry as a historic firearms channel. I mean, if you took an AR or something over there, you'd probably be just fine. But as far as history goes, we're kind of, everybody's like, why don't you just get off YouTube and go directly over to Rumble? I'm like, because there's no audience there for us.
Right.
We're very niche to start with, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like nobody over there's looking for Grandpappy's revolver,
Nope. No, that's the problem here with, like, we went to a gun show today and it's just so full of ARs and and I look, I like those guns. I've got a couple ARs. I've probably built 30 ARs and I always end up trading them for something lever action or whatever. And I don't have an AK at the time right now, but I've had 10 or 15 of them over the years, and I sold most of mine right before 2 presidents ago. So,
yep.
And then they got so high that I just don't like them enough to get another one right now.
Yep. And we all have them. And like I said, they're a great tool. You have to have one, a modern sporting rifle.
Right.
But everybody on these other channels talks about fudge, and I get that. There's some people that do not like modern weapons at all and would prefer to see them all go away. I'm not one of those people.
No,
but I find it a lot more going the other direction. Like, I've been called unconstitutional, anti-American, everything else because I don't feature an AR-15 every week, It's like we're going to be in this fight, and I get that way more than the other direction. And so,
I've gotten the
and we do feature
that gun's stupid because it's not tactical. It's like, it's not meant to be tactical. I'm not buying this gun because I'm going to use it to save my life or fight for me. I'm buying this as a toy. This is a toy.
Right. My everyday carry modern firearm, but what I love is the single actions and lever actions and all that stuff.
Ethan and I were having this discussion today because we're kind of a group of the guys in our church are armed and everything, and I'll be the first to admit it. You're going to find more cap and ball revolvers carried to our church, which is not a bad thing, because if one of them fails, 16 more of them in the front row are going to go off. If anybody ever attempts a church shooting in that church, it will be noted that they will not be able to find the body through the black powder smoke that will be floating around in there.
We will end up on gun meme review.
Yeah, that's what Ethan and I was saying. Somebody breaks into one of our houses. Like I said, we got the ARs and everything, but it's going to be funny when the report is home invader shot with 50 caliber buffalo rifle.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Intruder killed with Civil War firearm.
Yeah. What do you know? It still works. No, but we all still carry modern guns and stuff. It's just, when we go to church, everybody's got guns, and it's like you want to be a little classy.
Right.
Yeah. You want to be a little different.
Like the barbecue gun, you want you flashy, fancy gun.
Yep.
The Tupperware guns just don't do that.
That's right.
No.
That's 100% true.
They don't have that ability at all. I've even seen some really fancied up modern guns, and they just still don't seem that fancy to me.
I think the 1911 is is a modern style gun, even though it wouldn't be considered modern now. But I mean, semi-automatic, the 1911 was probably like the pinnacle.
I agree.
That's actually what I've been carrying to church mostly here lately. Carry 1911 in shoulder holster.
Caleb carries a 61 Navy religiously. That's his church gun.
Hey.
Also carried a Schofield quite a bit too.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a World War I 1911. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
What's
I've got
the
1911s, but all my 1911s are in 10 millimeter.
Hey Garrett, what's the most ridiculous gun you've seen somebody carry in church? Because sometimes it gets pretty interesting. It's usually Caleb.
The Walker was a little interesting that I saw coming and going for a while.
Walker.
Flintlock rifles stacked in the back by the door. I've seen that a couple times.
That's cool.
That's usually.
It's my kind of church right there.
That's what I was just thinking.
But yeah, it's like there's a couple of sermons on YouTube, and whether you agree with him or like him or not, go watch Pastor John Weaver, especially his biblical doctrines of self-defense. He talks about churches, and he talks about, you know, his firsthand accounts of especially colonial churches pre-Revolutionary War, where, you know, they had match lighters holding the matches for the matchlock rifles, you know, or muskets. And it's like, and the whole doctrine taught at the time was, and we still follow it today in most churches and don't even realize it, men sit on the outside of the pew.
Right.
Or the inside.
No,
Closest to the aisle.
Sat on the outside of the pew, close to the aisle, with the women in the middle. Say the women, outside of the pew, closest to the aisle. And the idea of the pastor going back to the back of the church to have his handshake instead of at the front, that kind of originates with the pastor's going to go back there with his rifle and check and see what's going on outside. Then y'all can come back here and shake my hand and go out the door.
Well, the reason why is because that's when the whole community congregates, and when you're not very friendly with the locals, it's a prime opportunity.
Yep.
But yeah, being armed in church goes back a long way.
Oh yeah.
So, if Brandon Birch said, "Yeah, waltzed into a fun conversation." LOL evening, everybody. Yeah. Hardy said, "I'd like to carry a Howdah pistol just to see the look on people's faces. You'd fit right in our church. People wouldn't even bat an eye." But yeah, guys, all right, we're running up here. We just hit 2 hours, so let's get ready to shut this thing down. All right, so as normal, well, this isn't actually normal because this is the end of the 11 Bang Bang Reload show for quite some time till the at least middle of July. And when we come back, we may not even be the 11 Bang Bang Reload show. We'll probably just be the Reload show because we've stretched beyond our own channel at this point. It's a lot of people coming and going, but we will have one more video releasing on 11 Bang Bang tomorrow morning, 7:30. We will do a side-in on our new gunpowder that we've made for the Kibler long rifle or Southern Mountain rifle. Re-sighted in for that powder. Good video. Other than that, we won't have anything. And I always make this announcement every year. This is our third. No, this is the end of our second year. We'll be starting our third of the 11 Bang Bang Reload show and come back in July. This is actually episode number 42. Interesting enough. So anyway,
wow.
We'll be on Harvest, Ethan and I both. So you're not, if you comment, we may not answer. We may when we get a chance. We try to. We won't be making any videos. You know, we'll do our best to keep up with the other channels we follow. But if you guys make a video and we don't comment, don't think it's because we don't hate you. We're probably in Oklahoma or down there on the line without any signal somewhere, or maybe north. And so just bear that in mind. I haven't got anybody lined up for July. Snapper's been helping me a lot with the lineup. So when we come back in July, we'll probably have a whole new lineup. I haven't got anybody right now. Be looking for us to come back with a video around the 4th of July. That's usually when we start videos back up. Hopefully by then we have an 1803 Harper's Ferry. And that's pretty much the story of what's going on here. So just a little bit of a recap, you guys. When we finished the show a year ago, the first part of June a year ago, we were averaging 12 to 15 people watching after a year of doing it. And today on this show right here, we have averaged 55. So, you know, we've more than doubled in this last year. And I appreciate you guys coming in and watching. And I appreciate, of course, like Joe here and all the guests that have come in and helped us grow. And they bring their own people. And we, of course, all get together and try to help our channels grow. We've had a banner year for firearms on YouTube, historic. Like I said, we slipped through the cracks, you know. I don't even know how many subscribers Joe got down there, but I know that we picked up around 8,000 during that little glitch in the matrix that we were able to pick up with. And I know Snapper did too. And so we've had a really good year, and it's all thanks to you guys out there in the chat who watch this show and always come back every week. And we really, really do appreciate it. So Snapper, what do you got to say? Your channel's seen a boom, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still really small, but I don't care. I do this because I like doing it. I don't really do it for the views, but I really do appreciate everybody there that has helped out with this channel. And I really do appreciate, you know, the Woods boys for everything that they've done for me as well, allowing me to become part of this community and part of this little family of this show. It's one of my most favorite things that I do. And I also appreciate a lot of you guys following in the audience. Some of you guys are amazing, and you're always there, and you're always there for us, and that is phenomenal, and I really do appreciate that a lot. While they're away for the next month, I might try to get something up and going that we might be able to upload, but we're not 100% sure on that yet. But depends how all this around me goes. And that's pretty much it for me. I really do appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for sticking with us through all this time. And I can't believe, wow, we're coming up on the end of the second year. That's crazy.
Yeah, you've been with us just about every show since the first. I think you weren't on the first 3 shows, and I think you've been on all but one since then.
I think so too. That's crazy. That is just crazy. I'm blessed to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Joe, I always ask this of the guests at the end. What do you got coming out next, if you don't mind us asking?
Well, I just put a couple videos out of, just kind of changing some screws, some springs over in a couple single actions, and both of those have aired. And right now, I've got nothing that I filmed right now, but I hope to get out and do some filming probably this coming weekend. Not exactly sure which one I'm going to do first, but I've got a couple things in the works. But and just I've got to test some 45-70 loads that I've just finished making or whatever, and we'll see where it goes. We hit a spell. I've got a 10-year-old. He plays baseball, and we was baseball every weekend, and then we had a lot of bad weather. So I just 4 weeks in a row I didn't get to shoot. So, but could be back at it.
Maybe I should ask it this way: what's the next gun you're going to buy? Because I know you do that quite often.
Well, I'm looking for an 1860. I don't know if I'll probably get an 1860 conversion. I want conversion, but I want it in 45 Colt. And the 1860, you can get them in 45 Colt, and because that's my favorite caliber, 45 Colt. So,
mine too.
And so that's probably what I'll end up getting.
God's caliber.
So I see something, and if it speaks to me, it's coming home.
That's exactly how you do it. Well, Ethan, you got anything to say before our big break?
Not really.
Man,
one thing I will say is when we come back, guys, Trapdoor Series should be prepared. We've been working on it for over 6 months now. All the books are in. All the rifles except for one that is paid for is in. And we're going to be, when we get done with Harvest, we're going to take about a week or so and build a completely new set for that series. And I hope you all are there to watch that. We hope to really raise the bar with this one. This is one of those things that I don't want to be the second best or almost the best on YouTube with this one. I want to be the best. So we put a lot of work into it. And I hope it comes out well and everybody enjoys it. But anyway, that's all we got, guys. I will see you around the 4th of July. Anybody got anything to say?
Good luck with your harvest, and we'll see y'all when y'all get.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, as always, tell them what to do, Ethan.
Thanks for watching. Trust in God and keep your powder dry. Bye.
Bye.